What we're now going to do is step through how to build a form. So those of you that are using the system already will be familiar with some of these topics we provided you with have forms built into them, and they're forms that have been built by our clinicians. Our forms have got the CE marking on them. It's important to note that when you create your own forms, obviously they've not been clinically authored by our team and they've not got the CE accreditation on them. Okay, so anything you build, it's your responsibility to ensure the content and the way that you've built it is all correct and accurate and so on. Okay, let's build a form that we can get our patients to fill in just to request a flu jab, and perhaps we can get them to state in there some days and times of the week when they're available, so we can get that request coming in and then we can schedule them in and send them an appointment if that's how you work in your practice. Now in my practice it's kind of a drop-in clinic, and you get there and you get a ticket and you just sit and wait, so it's entirely up to you how you want to manage it, but we'll use that as an example. So back into our topic, and this time I'm going to click add a new form. And as you do this, you'll start to see that a lot of the fields are the same. Yeah, so we're asking the same information. So name. So let's call it request a flu jab. Description. Please complete this form to request a. Again, I'm going to make this public so that when I switch the topic on and make the topic available, this is automatically available. I can tag again keywords if I wish, so flu, that kind of thing. Placing list this time is going to be number 2. And confirmation text, what happens next? So anything you put in here it appears on screen to the patient. So it might be something along the lines of, on receipt of this form, we will aim to get back to you within, 48 hours, 72 hours, to book in a flu jab or something like that. So what will happen when the patient submits this form? So whatever you put in here, again, you'll be able to test this, and if you don't like it, you can come back in and edit it. So don't worry if it's not quite on point with your first attempt. And then down here, we've got a blank canvas. Now, this is where you build the digital form. Okay, now down the right-hand panel, you've got what we call different field types. And it's a case of dragging and dropping these across into the form builder to build up what you want to appear on there. So you basically, if you left click on these items and drag them over. So the first entry on this form using this example is a single line text. So this gives the patient a box to fill in, just a simple free text box. So if we click edit, we give it a name or an introduction. So it could be something like, please, confirm if you've had a flu jab before. Maybe that wouldn't be a text box. Maybe that would be one of these drop downs or multi-text fields. Yeah, but I just want to talk through each one so you understand what each field offers you. Okay, so single line text. Well, let's just do that. Have you had a flu jab before? Question mark. And we could put yes, stroke no. So we'd expect the patient at this point to click into this field and pop in yes or no. Again, I will show you how we could create a yes no drop down or a yes no checkbox as we go through it, but it's just to give you a flavour. Okay. Required. So is this mandatory? So do we need them to fill this in? So you tick yes or no. So yeah, it's pretty important to know if they've had a flu jab before. Display on summary page. Now, when the patient gets to the end of the form, they'll be asked to pop in their name and address as standard. However, they do get to see a preview of the information that they've filled in, so they can check that all their answers to all the questions on the form are accurate and as they want them to be. So this here is saying, would you like this question, have you had a flu jab before, to appear on that summary page? Well, yes, we would, because we want the patient to check that. And we can give it a separate label if we wish, but actually this is fine, for it to say, have you had a flu jab before, yes or no? Okay, right. Once we're happy with that, we can click close just to collapse that field up, and we can move on to the next one. Okay, so that's a single line text. Multi-line text, drag it across, click edit, and it gets quite repetitive at this point. I don't know. have you ever had a reaction to a previous flu jab? Please bear with me, folks. This might not be the types of questions you have, but I'm just trying to demonstrate the different options. So multi-line text just gives the patient more room, a bigger box basically on the form to fill in. Again, it's required. Do you want it in the summary page? Yes, we do. And close. Okay. So we'll drop a few more in and then we'll run it so you can see what it's looking like. Okay. So single line, multi-line, drop down. Let's drag that across and click edit. Okay, so a drop-down list is when you click and you get a picking list of choices. I don't know, tell us your age range. Is it required? Yes. Do you want it on the summary page? Let's say no this time. Okay. And then you've got options down here. So when you do add option, this is where you put in the different options that the patient can pick from the picking list, from the drop-down list. So let's say, and again, go with me, 0 to 5 years. Okay. Add option. Can you see how we're building this up? So 6 to 10 years. Let's say. So this is just giving a selection of options for them to tick. It's probably not the best example, but there you go. It gives you a flavour of it. So once you're happy with that, again, I'm just clicking close to collapse that section. So that's a drop down. A drop down, you can only pick one as well, so it's exclusive. So you can't say I'm 5 years old and 65 years old. It's one or the other. Yeah. Checkboxes pick many allow you to provide a list of options and you can select more than one. So let's go for this one and click edit. So, you know, appreciate we'll know this, but obviously you're a higher risk category, aren't you, if you've got certain medical conditions. So let's put this in here. So please select your current medical conditions from the list below. Yes, it's required, and yes, we want it on the summary page. And again, we're going to click and add options. So option 1 may be asthma. Okay. And we can add some clinical terms in here if we want. There's some guidance notes here as well. If you ever see a little question mark, it will appear on there. You can also create what we call alerts or pop-ups. So if a patient selects asthma, you can create it by ticking this little checkbox. You can put some text in there that says asthma makes you high risk of flu jab, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and it's just an alert that pops up when the patient selects that option. If they do tick it and you want to prevent the patient from continuing because they have selected that option, you'll see there's a checkbox here that says selecting this answer will prevent the patient from continuing. So if the patient's response means they should no longer continue to fill this form in, then you can tick that, and the kind of logic in the form will behave in that way that it won't allow them to continue. They'll have to exit the form, and you could put some guidance in here or some notes to say, because you've selected asthma, you know, this means this, please contact the practice. You can't complete the form. Okay, so there are some kind of different options you can select in there. I'm going to take those out. I'm going to keep it simple. So let's go for diabetes. Okay, so checkboxes pick many allows me to pick one or more of these items, and I can, if I wish, pop an alert in there. Let's do it right. If I want some text to appear for the patient on selection of that option. I suspect when you're building these forms like me, you'll build them and you'll test them and you'll check some of these options if you wish to have them in there or not, and see what it looks and feels like. Okay. So checkboxes pick many, checkboxes pick one. So same concept, but this time it's exclusive, so you can only pick one item. Okay. So let's go for, are you scared of needles? And again, just a little bit of humour, but let's go for a yes, no option in here because you can only pick one. So yes, add option, no. Okay. Then we've got dates, headers, paragraphs, and page breaks. So a date field, if I bring that across. And again, please try and imagine how you can apply this form building to other uses, really. I know we've picked the flu campaign, but you can pretty much build forms around anything to allow your patients to interact with you online, to make requests and so on. And they can be as simple or as complex as you want them to be. And you won't necessarily use all of these features in every form. I'm just taking the opportunity today to step through each one so that you're aware of what they do. So a date pretty much does what it says on the tin. It asks or allows the patient to enter a date. So we could put something, I don't know, date of last flu jab. Again, I appreciate we should have that on record in their clinical record, but there you go. It just asks them to confirm the date that they last had a flu jab. And I'm going to close that one. Okay. Headers, paragraphs, and page breaks. So a header is not really a question. So if you think about all these up here, these are asking the patient to fill something in. A header can be used to add some text, to add some guidance notes, to set the scene, that kind of thing. So if I click edit and give it a label, so it might be, I don't know, just to break things up a little bit. So in fact, what I could have done is called it flu jab history and put it up. Can you see how I'm clicking and dragging that? Perhaps I could put that ahead of that. Yeah, so I'm introducing the next question. So a header just allows you to almost like break the form up into sections, as does a page break. Actually, we're going to come on to a page break in a second. That takes you to the next page. So if you want to add some structure, if you've got a really complex form, you can utilize headers and paragraphs and page breaks to full effect to guide a patient through it. And where there's a natural section break, so you might ask historical information, you might ask things about their medical conditions, situation at home, anything like that, you can break it up naturally. A paragraph, if I drag that down here and click edit, you'll see you get a text editor again. So, you know, really important to have a flu jab if you have pre-existing medical conditions. So you can use it to provide information. You can use it to talk about how you manage the flu campaign in the practice. That probably should be something I would have higher up on the form. Yeah, so there's some editing options here, so you can make some text in bold and you can put bullets and you can align things. You can even add links within your text here. So if you wanted to write a paragraph about the importance of having a flu jab and checking eligibility and so on, you can actually click a link in here and put in a URL, a link to a URL and that kind of thing. So you can direct people to other things through there. Okay. And the last one on the list here is a page break. So actually, to show this in full effect, I'm going to drag this and slot it in the middle here, and then we'll see how these first 4 questions appear on page 1 and then how these appear on page 2. So there are all the field options that are available and how you fill them in. You'll notice in the tab on the right hand side as well, I've got a presets option where we can drop in fields like where we can ask for a name, an address, a date of birth and so on. Now, a tip for you here, at the end of the form, by default, the system automatically asks the patient to put in their name, their address, their contact number, their gender as part of filling the form in, especially if they come through the website. Okay, so you don't have to put these into every form. Yeah, you would use these perhaps if you want to, I don't know, let's say you were asking for the name of a carer that looks after the patient and you wanted their details, if that's something you're allowed to collect. Yeah, maybe the name of someone you're looking after. Yeah, so if there's an instance where perhaps someone's filling in the form on behalf of someone else, or perhaps the person filling in the form, the patient, needs to reference other people, you might then use these fields to do so. Okay, a disclaimer allows you to put something in like, please tick here. So if I just click on here, please tick here to confirm you have read and understood everything about flu season. So if you want to drop disclaimers in at any point to verify that they've understood, can you see? Please check this box to confirm you've read and understood. So it's kind of pre-populating it for you. Okay. Right, I think we need to take a look at what this looks like. So I'm going to click create and it says my form has been built. There you go. Okay, now the good thing about the forms is you do actually have a preview option. So you'll notice when we created the link, I had to make this public so that I could log onto my public page and test it. We can actually preview the form through the builder screen. Okay, so I'm going to click on there now, and this is what it looks like. So for those of you familiar with the online consult platform already, you'll note that all forms start with the same text. Okay, so it's just the standard T's and C's and so on. So the patient would fill these in. And here you go. This is what we've just built. Have you had a flu jab before? Have you had a reaction? So single text, multi-text. No. Tells your age range. Okay. Please select your current medical conditions from the list below. So remember, this was a multi checkbox. We then inserted a page break. Okay, so you see we now continue into page 2. So continue. Now into page 2. Are you scared of needles? Date field. Yeah, so this was a header, flu jab history. That was where I used a header. And this is a date field. So I don't know, maybe 11th of the 11th. Okay. This is where we added a paragraph. It's really important to have a flu jab if you have pre-existing medical conditions. So this was a paragraph option where we dropped that in. So again, it's just to demonstrate that you can have some text in there. And this was a disclaimer. So the service is intended for electronic communication. Please take care to, that you've read and understood everything that's going on in the form. And at that point, I think we'd finished building the form, but you'll see on the next page, by default, it asks me to tell you who I am. Yeah, so in this instance, I've landed on this form through the website. So now I have to tell you who I am. And when I fill all this in, this is the standard back page, I guess, for every form on the platform. Fill in my personal details, click continue. It'll check. Well, let's do it. So at this point, it's checking that the information is all accurate. And then this is check your answers before sending. So you remember, as we were adding those fields into the form, we could say, do you want it to show on the summary page? So this is where that information then presents. So I can now check that I'm happy with my responses and I can change them if necessary. We've got the standard kind of GDPR stuff in there. Accept and send the information. And because I'm on a test system, mine's gone kaput, but there you go. If we go back, that's how it looks and feels. So you can check that you're happy with the form by doing a preview. If you've missed something, if you want to change the order of things, if that kind of thing, if you just click back on to the form, it takes you straight back into it. And at this point, you can move things around, you can remove items, so you can click edit to get back in and make changes. You can click remove to take that element of the form out, and you can click and drag and drop to change the order of things. So you're in full control at that point, and any changes, you just click save, and there it is. So that's how to build a form. And again, you can have multiple forms on here, as many as you wish. Once you're happy that you've got your links and your forms all built, remember we need to make the topic public once we're ready to launch it to our patients. So again, from the topic, click edit, make that public, click save. And if you want to just double check, if you want to do a sanity check, from here in the left hand panel, click on your public page and you'll hopefully see your flu campaign. This time we've got resource number 1 and resource number 2. So we've got the link to patient info and we've got the link to the form, which actually gives you the standard beginning, again, the T's and C's, and then you're into the form. Okay, if at any point you want to switch that off, again, in the back end of the system, you don't kind of activate and deactivate. It's a little bit different. You just basically remove the public status. So we'd click on here. If we want to temporarily switch it off, or after the flu season's ended, we want to remove this, we can set it back to draft. So we can still keep it and use it next year, or you can actually delete it if you want to. So if you want rid of it altogether, you can come into here, click on it through here, and you can click edit and you've got a delete option. So you can delete the whole topic, or you can just set it to draft, keep it in the background and use it in 2021 for the campaign next year. Okay, so I think that covers the basics of creating topics with links and forms.